Knuckles Comic Issue 25. We start out with Knuckles talking in confusion about how Benedict turned out to be more extreme than the Legion. But yeah, he talks about how Benedict is leaving everyone wondering what all the fuss concerning high-tech is about. That line makes me wonder if Knuckles is finally getting a clue that high-tech isn't evil. Suddenly, Knuckles gets scared and runs away at a silhouette of what looks like an echidna with bunny ears. But running that way causes him to catch up with his father. I like the sad look on his face when he recognizes him. Like it really drives the point home how he still cares about him, but also has problems with him. Fortunately, the care outweighs the problem as he immediately tries to hug him with the tear rolling down his cheek. Although his own father doesn't hug back, so it just looks awkward. After he goes off with his father, Julie makes me giggle by complaining, "This is so typical," goes off and does his own thing again. It's a pout she has that really makes it amusing. Then she has a tsundere line where she's like, "Well, if that's the way you want it, see if I care." We cut back to Locke with Knuckles in the airship, and I kind of get a feeling of dread that I'm going to get a mountain of exposition I already know, just because Knuckles doesn't know. At least Locke starts out with some new information. That Haven was designed and built by the fire ants for Steppenwolf. I thought Haven was that place where they stored the abandoned technology. I didn't know the ants built it. And his son Moonwatcher? I misread that as Moonwalker. Anyways, it became obvious that if the Chaos Ammo was to be preserved, Steppenwolf would also have to be vigilant of the world beyond, naturally since there could be potential thieves for it out there. When the floating island was visited for the first time by Overlanders, Steppenwolf became very suspicious of them, and a good thing too since he's talking to an ancestor of Robotnik, complete with the black and red cyborg eyes because apparently Overlanders had access to cyborg technology even back then. Of course, Steppenwolf attacks them, using an echidna power that makes them feel like their brains are on fire. That's kind of badass. Considering one of the humans literally whispered about shooting to kill right in front of an echidna, and echidnas have really good hearing in real life, him knowing what's going on makes even more sense. With that, Steppenwolf banishes the Overlanders from the floating island. You and yours? What kind of grammar is that? Didn't he mean your kind? It turns out that the real reason he knew about the humans' intentions was that conveniently, a bunch of fire ants were there, and with their natural telepathic abilities greatly enhanced when used in unison, they warned him about them. Locke lands the airship and explains that Haven wasn't always a secret to whoever was the current guardian, but somehow it became necessary to be that way. Whatever. Steppenwolf and his ant friend Christopoulos decided that more than one guardian would be necessary to protect the floating island. So Steppenwolf brought his son to Haven, and apparently he had never seen it before. Reckonwater? What's that supposed to mean? I couldn't find it in my French-English dictionary. Why would they use that word and expect the audience to know it? Well, he said that he's off to Reckonwater, the landmass they're about to pass over. Maybe he means search to see if it's safe? Why can't he just say that? For a while, the two Guardian arrangement worked well for decades, and it was Steppenwolf's grandson, Rembrandt, who caused the Guardian family, the Brotherhood, to be called that in the first place. Everything was fine until Steppenwolf's great-grandson Aaron, finally a normal name, found a squadron of Overlanders on Mobius Prime wandering through the forest. Wait, why is he saying Mobius Prime? Shouldn't that be obvious? I didn't know the Guardians even knew there were multiple universes and that this was the prime one, and specifying that wasn't even necessary for the conversation. For some reason, when one of the humans said that an echidna was nearby, the other one said, "One of yours?" That gets explained. Aaron wisely ran for his life because he was young and inexperienced, only to discover that somehow Menacur and the Dark Legion had magically escaped from the Twilight Cage. Somehow indeed. A human says that Aaron will ruin their lives because it turns out the humans were working with the Dark Legion. At least humans and Mobians are working together on something. The human tries to grab a device with an echidna complaining in a panic that they're not ready yet. Aaron goes for the missile, which the human is fine with because he thinks he'll be destroyed along Floating Island. Why would you want to destroy a perfectly good island? That's so many valuable resources completely wasted on you. Especially the Master Emerald. Aaron manages to open the hatch to the guidance controls, recognizing that it's exactly like the systems his grandpa had shown him in Haven. And on a complete split-second decision, he presses the button to activate the detonator, and no one ever found a trace of Aaron or Menacur. At least he saved the island. But I can't help but wonder if they had taught him more about his magical abilities and trained him more rather than probably holding back on him for being young, he would have been able to stop them magically without blowing himself up. Also, Aaron was said to be very intelligent, but succumbed to the bravado and recklessness of his youth. He didn't exactly have a choice. Maneker was attacking him. He wouldn't have let him deactivate it safely. Anyone would have done that as a guardian. All the guardians at the time grieved over the loss of Steppenwolf's great-grandson and decided to take steps to ensure that this wouldn't happen again. I'm sorry, but I really don't think he could do anything to make sure a heroic sacrifice like that wouldn't happen again. Aaron's younger brother Jordan wanted to be a guardian like him, and we see the Brotherhood spying on him through a monitor, with one of them lampshading that this isn't right, and the other lampshading that they should all be involved in Jordan's training. Funny how none of them mention the words spying and stalking. Those are illegal for a reason, you know. Another canon justifies that it's better they should establish limits for Jordan and increase his responsibilities gradually. I guess they don't want him to get overwhelmed, but again, the entire reason that Aaron exploded was because he wasn't taught as much as he could have been. Because he could have made them feel like their brains were on fire instead of having to blow himself up. They're doing the exact opposite of solving the problem. I don't see why any of this would prevent him from doing the same thing Aaron would have done. Any of these guardians would have done anything to protect their island. This is hardly a good excuse for the spying, but at least an excuse. Knuckles asked, so he didn't just abandon me? I like that they actually had him point that out, rather than the writing being completely unaware that someone could come to that conclusion. Locke insists that he was always there for him, behind a computer monitor, watching camera footage, rather than being actually physically and emotionally there for him to reassure him and talk to him. Somehow I think he needs to look up the definition of the word there. Locke says that he wanted Knuckles to learn self-reliance, and insists that Knuckles wouldn't be the individual he was if it weren't for him being left all alone. That is true of Knuckles. But again, self-reliance wouldn't prevent a guardian from doing what Aaron did. If anything, it'd make him more likely to, since Aaron didn't exactly have someone telling him to blow himself up. He independently made the decision on his own. With independence. Locke explains that one night he had a nightmare that seemed so real that he had a hard time distinguishing reality from fantasy for months afterwards, and wondered if it was a dream induced by the ancient walkers or precognitive vision. I don't think a vision would make you unable to tell truth from fiction for months, but whatever. His vision had him seeing Knuckles facing a fearful adversary while finally wearing that cool cowboy hat that Hawking bequeathed him. Really, the only reason he doesn't wear it all the time is because marketing reasons. He's not known for wearing it, and so he can't. The vision had Knuckles fighting a giant tall robot looking like Eggman, and then everything ended with a flash of light. So persistent were the nightmare visions that he sought out help from Aether because of them. After a silence, Locke explains that Aether told him to reconcile the past with the present into the next generation. And Knuckles is a great audience surrogate because he's probably just as confused as I am. Why would he think that he would understand that? Knuckles' father explains that he became his own guinea pig, using long forbidden for no reason technologies, including biological enhancements, pretty brave of him, so that when his mother carried him, Knuckles would be more than just the sum of his parents' genetic structure. I'm guessing he came across some books or something to tell him what exactly he needed to do with all this technology. Once inside the Chaos Chamber, his egg was subjected to a radiation bath from the full force of the Chaos Emerald. Radiation bath? Why didn't he die from the nuclear radiation? Maybe he means simply magical power, but then he shouldn't have phrased it like that. And when Knuckles emerged from the egg, Lara was surprised, and Locke knew that all of his efforts had met with success. Here's what she was surprised at. Locke tells Knuckles to take off his gloves, and it's finally revealed that he has red spikes under them. I really would have preferred white spikes, not red ones that look out of place. I mean, if you're going to have the spikes be part of his hand, then they should at least be the same color as the spikes that we always get to see coming out of his gloves. But yeah, they actually cared enough to explain why Knuckles had spikes on his gloves. He's a magical mutant, just like Tails is. Knuckles had thought every Guardian had knuckles like his. Knuckles furiously calls him out on making him a savior, saying, "Did it ever occur to you I'd be happier just being your son?" I didn't realize he hated being a hero that much. At least it adds depth to his character to make him worried about the responsibility and pressure of being a hero. But savior, aren't all Guardians supposed to be that? All Guardians are supposed to be heroes in some way. Locke says he can relate to his feelings because he went through the same procedure as did his father and his father before him, and that the only difference in the procedure is how much more powerful Knuckles is. Good for him! It's nice that they've actually cared enough to explain why Knuckles would be more powerful, rather than just having him be born that way for no reason because he's the main character. Knuckles saying too far out feels stilted. I expect Sonic to say the 90s slang. It's kind of his trademark. Aww, Locke says that it's about time they took a break and did something together, just like any father and son. And the story ends with the two saying they love each other. It's definitely a relief that Knuckles didn't hate his father for making him more powerful. I can understand why the whole experimenting thing would feel like an icky subject, but looking at it from a purely practical perspective, it only helped him. It even saved his life. This issue was by Ken Penders, and finally had Knuckles have that long talk with his dad. Fortunately, not only did it not dump the huge amount of exposition I already know on me, and instead had some new interesting stories to tell, but the overall meeting went better than I expect, with Knuckles happily hugging his father the minute he saw him again rather than lashing out at him for everything, even though he's normally a hothead, and the two having a heartwarming father and son moment, deciding to spend some quality time together at the end. I wonder how I would have reacted if I was learning the Knuckles was magically enhanced as an egg thing for the first time from this issue, rather than me already knowing about it a long time ago. I can understand why it'd be seen as icky, tampering with nature and blah blah blah, but again, Knuckles was just made more competent from it, and really I can't understand why every Guardian wasn't made to be like this. If you're gonna have a Guardian, you should want him to be as useful as possible. They could have easily had him be born more powerful just because. So it's nice that they cared enough to give a proper explanation. Next up is Sonic Super Special Issue 9, where we see another story about Sonic and his friends when they were kids.